We're going to start. Ready?
All right.
So as if they're seeing
swipe,
us.
swipe. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that out loud.
Yeah, here we go. Ready? Look up. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, welcome. It's GameBreak again.
I know. Can you believe we're back? This is Paul Tracy,
I'm Andy Whelan.
and we're here to celebrate a nice episode of GameBreak.
Yay, this episode.
It's nice. Let me put my phone down. We don't need that right now. But we're going to do a little catch-up first, just for like a minute. Talk about 2024, because 2024 was a kind of a cool year. We have entered into 2025, and you're used to seeing, or you will see if you want, Gifty GameBreak, which is the last 7 or 8 years of us doing a gift exchange.
That's right. We've been keeping it going since we've sort of ceased production on our earlier episodes.
Yeah.
But we're still together.
Yeah, we're together, and we're interested in kind of a medium ground thing of something new that we're going to do.
Right.
So
we actually have a new plan.
Yeah,
our plan is to take some of that older content and bring it to YouTube along with some new content that we create, and this episode is quite possibly the very first one on the channel.
Yep, that sounds good. And then, you might see an old episode broken up into parts and games explained and things of that nature, because there's some games that are old that become new again when they're repurposed or repackaged and such like that. So we'll get into that as this progresses. But to talk about 2024 briefly, just to catch up on what we've done in our lives here in the last year. For me, it was interesting because I've been working on a film for the last 3 years, A Date for Anya. And in February of last year, we shot a paperboy scene. And then in October, we shot what I've called the ladies scene, which is kind of a fun scene that shows some behind the scenes workings of the main character's inner mind as he goes into a dream sequence. And that's what I've been working on. On top of that, I was Meta certified. So now for 2 years, I have certification to be able to help place advertisements on Meta and help others do the optimization of their advertisements. Not just, I'm going to place an ad, I'm going to boost a post, all that stuff that really doesn't get you too far unless you really know what you're doing. So what is it? What are you been up to?
Consult, yeah. Me, I continue to teach at RIT, raise my D&D loving daughter, and just have a lot of fun, just generally, and also helping kids develop games, That's some of my favorite courses to teach are the ones in which students actually make a tabletop game, and I've been blessed to be able to do that.
And it's your passion.
Passion.
It's good to take a hobby into a passion, because who is it that they said if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life?
There you go. I refuse to work any days of my life.
I wonder if there's anybody else we know that maybe does what they love and doesn't feel like it's work.
Oh,
who could that be?
I don't know.
Let's find if it's somebody. True. Well, look who our guest is today. Would you like to introduce yourself to us and tell us why you're here?
Yeah, I'm Matthew Verkant, and I own JustGames Rochester here in Rochester, New York.
Yep. And we are inside
We're
JustGames.
in the store right now.
We're in it live.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and we thank him so much for letting us go in the store. A little later after our interview, you'll see some of a tour of the store. So stick around for that, and you'll get to see what goes on here at JustGames. So
that's right.
We've got a couple questions.
Matt, one of the first question I really wanted to ask you is why a game store? Like what about this field? What about this business ignited you to want to have a store?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I think as far as the game store thing goes, right? Like I've always been sort of a people person. And gaming is very much a people-oriented business. We're very, it's very community-oriented. You get a lot of regular people through there. You work a lot with kids and families and regular gamers, and I think that's something that was always very important to me. So obviously there's a lot of ways you could do that, but gaming was something I was passionate about, so it made sense to do that.
Cool. And so speaking of the community, what have you found in the Rochester community that's maybe that you've discovered as kind of unique about our gamers or about our people?
Yeah. Well, so for me, I moved away for school and I came back to the Western New York area. So I was familiar with Rochester, but one of the things that I think is really unique is that we have a lot of gamers, and that means you have a lot of variety of people and also hobby interests. So there's a lot of room to get really creative in terms of what kinds of things you offer to gamers or non-gamers or people who are curious about gaming in that scenario.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that dovetails into all the different types of events that you host here, and the different ways that you try to reach out to the community and so on. I know one of my favorite things every year is the swap and sell.
Oh, yeah.
You always see me
Yeah.
here around that time. And that's a special event for me because I accumulate more games than I need.
That's actually how I learned about your store to begin with. Andy invited me to a swap and sell maybe 3 years ago or more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I came here, I brought, I don't know, 3 or 4 older board games, and I think I sold 2 of them, and I think you donate the rest, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So the swap and sell really like solves a problem, right? A lot of folks who play a lot of board games, like you two do, accumulate more than they're currently using, and they're often in pretty good shape, and you could maybe sell those to a store that does used games, but frequently you're going to get 5 or 10% maybe of what the game sells for, and it's not how a hobbyist likes to let go of their games. Yeah. So this lets you sort of turn that into like maximum value in store credit and then accumulate more games.
Right. It's a great snowball to keep rolling.
and if you don't want to pick them up afterwards and you don't sell them, we donate them to nonprofits in the area. So for example, last year, the YMCA took about 400 of them, which was great. And the prior year, we had several schools take them who were starting game clubs. And so there's a lot of ways that those go back into the community ecosystem.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Has any of those actually sparked the beginning of a game club at a specific place? You said they already were doing it, or no?
It's interesting that you ask that. I would love that to be the case, right? I would like to get people who are curious about, oh, I'd love to have a game club in my school, but we don't have a budget or what have you. Often it's a teacher that's struggling to kind of demonstrate the value to their school. And so this is a way for them to go, look at all the cool things that I did with like no budget. Maybe if we had one, I could get really specific about my curriculum. And that's a really cool thing to be able to support.
That is great. Yeah. I hope that my daughter gets a chance to be in a game club at her school at some point. So
Maybe she can start one. She's got the right example for it.
There you go. Hey, daughter. All right, that's great. I did also want to ask a little bit about what's kind of hot right now, the new things in the industry. I know you showed us your new table. But
he will be showing it to us.
Yes, he will.
Yeah, he will.
Oh, yes. Nothing like that has happened yet, but I'm sure it will. And you'll show us around. But you know, are there any big themes like for a while there was a whole bunch of co-op games became very popular, or legacy games became very popular? Are you noticing anything like on the horizon that people just aren't aware of yet?
Yeah, so board games are an interesting creature because it's often very driven by the sort of larger trend. So like single player games were very popular during like COVID lockdown because you could play them alone, and then maybe you could team up with a friend and play solitaire on webcam or something. We've since seen that now that we're allowed to breathe each other's air again, party games are becoming a little bit more popular again, and they're getting more creative. So Werewolf in the Dark just came out. It's a great example, right? If you've played Werewolf before.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is one that you're supposed to literally play in a dark room.
Oh my gosh,
and
wow.
each player has a little candle light that they
my
turn
God.
out at specific moments. It's a really cool riff on this game, and so we're seeing a lot of that creativity come into like the big group games again.
Yeah.
Sounds like
All
fun.
right. Yeah. I was thinking that I need to host a party night, a party game night, because when I have regular game nights, most of them come and want to play sort of serious games. I'm thinking about just sending out an invitation that's like, want to have a party game night?
They're the only game.
Trying to at least test the waters and see if people are interested in that. And if so, I might just schedule specifically that, because I know I have some people that are like, no party games.
It's also a great way to introduce people that maybe they know that aren't as into gaming yet.
True.
Right.
It's not as intimidating.
That's great.
Yeah, so Matt, do you ever have time to give people, if they come in the store and they say, oh man, I've got a great idea for a game, or maybe they've even prototyped a little bit of a game, what do you offer for them?
So, I've worked on the publishing side of things too. I used to work for Minion Games doing their Kickstarter fulfillment, and I did some game development with them. And one of the great things about board games is that it is, straightforward as a process to make your own. It's just a ton of work, and there's a ton of ways you can go wrong. So, one of the great things that we can do is I try to direct people. There's a Protospiel Rochester that's been starting recently, and they're doing an event in the fall. That's a really great resource for playtesting and kind of getting your feet wet in that world. And of course, I can also give some advice at this point. It's probably a little bit outdated, but it's better than going blind. There's also a few resources on Facebook and things like that where you can meet other designers. And of course, you could always talk to your local professors.
Yes, and I could invite them to RIT's Crash Test organization, right? So Crash Test is a weekly game play testing session. Then we invite people from the Rochester area to come in, or even further if they want to drive, to come on in and try to play test their games. Depends on how many students are actually going to be there and so forth, but
same room every time?
It is, yeah.
Can you tell us the room number?
So far, it's always been in the Magic Spell Studios, room 2150, Monday nights from 6 to whenever they kick us out.
Is there a website they can go to see if it's going to be on or not on that particular Monday night? Maybe not.
Yes, there's a Discord. There's a Discord server for it, so you have to find a link somewhere to Crash Test RIT, and then from there you should be able to find the Discord server and check things out.
Good. Good to know. And we've been to Proto Spiel at least last year.
Yeah, we stopped in there.
It was pretty cool to see that.
Kevin Collagio, I believe, is the
good memory.
Good. Well, good. And you know what? He also shows up at Crash Test now and then. So it is a nice little community of developers and designers right here in the Rochester area.
Yeah, and we're actually working with Kevin next year on Commander Sealed is one of our larger charity events, and so we're kind of bookending with his event at the RIT Conference Center.
We're all a big happy family.
Yeah, it's a very small gaming world. A lot of diverse interests, but a lot of willingness to work together.
That's right.
So is there anything else you'd like to say to us to kind of round out the podcast?
Sure. One of the big things for us is introducing people to role-playing games.
Okay.
Those are often very intimidating. For people that maybe don't want to read the rule book or perhaps have heard of Dungeons & Dragons, but they don't know anyone who plays. So there's a great opportunity there to play on Mondays and Tuesdays with us and kind of learn. And we also do Learn to Plays at the Strong Museum of Play about twice a year, which is a great way to introduce your kids if maybe you don't want a Dungeon Master. I know your daughter's already into it, but you can imagine maybe a parent that doesn't have as engaged a kid, but maybe a curious kid who wants to learn about it. So those are great opportunities for people to kind of learn those role-playing games and get a little taste.
That is really awesome, and your connection to the Strong Museum in town is also a really great
They do really cool
connection.
work. You should
great museum.
interview at a museum.
Yeah, we should do that.
There we go.
Interviews are all kinds of different places, but that's a good place to go next, maybe.
They have a lot of cool things there.
I also understand you're connected with a local what is it, like a restaurant kind of thing? It's with Dice Versa, right?
Dice Versa, yeah, that was opened by Riley, who's one of our former employees here at JustGames, and he used to do our board game kind of like demo nights in our program, and that's obviously translated very well. He's got a game library over there we help put together, and his whole team does kind of demo night every night. So if you're into board games, that's another cool opportunity.
I've been there actually once, and they serve coffee and other things as well as the
like a little tapas style kind of finger foodie kind of thing.
Yum.
Yeah. It's a really great place.
Paul, we need to get out more.
We should go there next too. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Matt. We really appreciate your time.
So next we're going to go on a tour of Matt's store, and so take it away, Matt.
Start off here at the new releases. This is probably our most popular zone for most regulars, right? You get your new things like Finspan that are hot gamer games, but then you've also got things like Rochester Monopoly that's been a big game for the local folks to argue about, like which landmarks weren't included. So it's a lot of fun. Card games are also really big right now, so Pokemon and Magic all use the same kind of sleeves, and you get a lot of colors, a lot of textures. So this is something we keep right up front by the new releases. Most of it's classic, but people love it. People come in here and they kind of like color code their decks, or like pick the dice color or sleeve color that goes with their Planeswalker or the Pokemon. So that stuff is a lot of fun too. I'm just going to kind of go down the center of the store here. Role-playing is one of our biggest areas in the store. Dungeons & Dragons is really, really huge. Dice are a big part of that. We also keep probably about 1,200 independent RPGs in stock at all times. So back here in this little corner, we've got like cozy role-playing games like Stew Pot, which is about what happens to your adventurers when they retire and run a tavern. And we also have things that are locally made, like Mythic Space is done by a gentleman who started playing Dungeons & Dragons with us here about 9 years ago and then made his own sci-fi version of the game because he didn't think it had enough of it. So that's a really cool section. It's one of my favorite parts of the store. We've also got a lot of metal dice here. which I think are really, really cool. This is sort of like the jewelry display, right? Gets bigger around the holidays, is a popular gift if you're getting a gamer on the list, right? This is what you get for your spouse who's really into D&D. And then board games, of course, are massive. We've had a huge renaissance in the last 10 years in board game design and quality and construction. I could talk about this forever, but there's about 2,500 titles in our store, and I think our store is actually pretty modest in terms of what it stocks. There's about 4,500 that come out every year on Kickstarter, if anyone's familiar with that website. So this is like half a year supply is what you're looking at, which sounds crazy. I remember starting out and it was like, we had Catan and Axis and Allies. I think we're the only two board games 20 years ago, at least that's what it felt like. So one of the coolest things about the board game section in the last few years is we've had a lot of miniatures games kind of adapt that model. So traditionally, miniatures would have been very hobby-oriented. I'm sure you've seen people painting Civil War miniatures and things like that. I have a friend who does wildlife painting and carving that started with Civil War minis when he was a kid. So games like BattleTech and Shatterpoint and Kill Team have all sort of adopted the buy the box and play it model. That's opposed to the more traditional style of miniatures, which is very much this sort of like, we have all of this paint and all of these miniatures, and it's more of a hobby. So you get into the art element of build your miniatures, paint your miniatures, assemble them. You can make terrain. There's almost like a diorama element. So this is, it's a game that you play, but this is very much starts from the hobby perspective. So this is kind of one of the cooler crossovers that's happened where board games have kind of influenced the miniatures side of things. So one of the other things that we do that's a pretty unique offering is we offer about 1,000 games which are rentals. So as you come into the store and you maybe don't know a game very well, or you think, I'm not sure if I'm ready to try this, or if my friends are going to like it, or if my kids are going to like it, before you inflict it on them unknowingly and spend $50, $60, $70, you can try it out for $5 or $10. If you return it on time, which is a 4-day rental, you can get that entire rental fee as store credit toward a game of your choice. So it's a really easy way to try a bunch of things before you buy them. And if you come into the store and you play here, you can play as many of these as you want to while you're in the store, so you can get an all-day pass for $10 anytime you want and just play the whole rental library. So the other, every night of the week and on weekends, we do all kinds of regular events. So we do Dungeons & Dragons games and Magic and card games and things like that. We also do a lot of events that are working with other organizations in the community. Like we just had the Seneca Park Zoo here. They brought Tim Tim, their African bullfrog, who was a huge hit. Everyone wanted to take a picture with it. He was a frog, so he was very amiable about sitting still for the camera. And next month, we have the Penfield Library Association coming in, which is a really cool event. They're going to do a bunch of book-oriented things. They're going to play really loud librarians here in the store, which is a game that sounds exactly like what it is. It's about being loud in a library. So that'll be a ton of fun. And we're going to hopefully do some fundraising for them that's pretty successful and get some books donated. Thanks for visiting us here at JustGames. We're available online at justgamesrochester.com or by phone at 585-586-0586, or you can stop by the store, which is at 1601 Penfield Road in Rochester, New York.
I drug him into this aisle because I wanted to look at more games.
Oh, let's look at some.
Love to do.
I think we have a couple of games we want to give each other.
Yeah, maybe we can do that.
We have to prep it though.
Yes, but we can also just start looking around because that'll make great cinema.
Sure.
So looking around, isn't this cinematic? Okay.
Yeah. Now what?
I have a game in mind.
Oh,
have a game in mind?
I do. To give you?
Yes.
Yes, let me get it prepped. Don't look at it. I'm just going to look around. It might be a game you already own, though.
That's okay. I love duplicate games.
You do?
I like.
All right, I know what I'm going to give you.
All right.
As long as it's not the same one you're going to give me. We're not going to have another Isle of Cats moment.
All right.
So, how did you want to start this segment?
I have a little something for you.
Okay. All right. Go. Ready? I'll shut up. Go ahead.
I've been looking all around the store, and I wanted to show you, or give you, for a moment anyway, this game.
You have
I've played this game once with my friend Sean.
Is this a game you want to give me for Christmas?
Well, I would, if I could.
All right.
So here you go. Close your eyes.
I'm closing my eyes.
And okay, open it.
Tesseract?
Yeah.
This looks cool.
Isn't this a
What's
great game?
Tesseract about?
Tesseract is this very cool game. I'm going to show you the back of the box here because it's got a huge, see that right there? See that cube that you're building in the center? It's covered with alien glyphs and cool things, and you take those and you pull them off strategically and you put them down onto these these strings that you're building, and you're trying to buy different cards that result in points. It's really about sort of building a little engine that creates points, and it's a really neat little game, especially that cube.
I love it.
That was a fun
I love that
thing.
cube.
So we should play it sometime.
Let's play that. Let's put that down over there, and I will get a game for you that I've had my eye on.
I'm not looking. I'm not looking.
Don't look. Here it comes. There, look.
Oh my goodness! This is a game that I do wish I had.
Oh, you really
As
don't
opposed
have
to
it?
the game that you had never heard of.
Wow. Okay, cool.
But
That's good to know.
this,
Yeah.
Planet Unknown, is a
game.
fantastic game with like this cool turntable in the
show
middle.
the back. We'll show the back. Well, I mean, we'll show the back.
Man,
it's cool.
It is very cool, and you're putting your guys out on a planet surface and exploring it.
I like the meteoroids, right?
I do. They come along and crash
mess
into the
up
planet,
everything.
and they affect things, and you got various things that you're keeping up. You know, it puts me in mind of terraforming Mars, because there's these different tracks that you're raising.
Yes.
But they're your own personal tracks in terms of how you're developing.
What
you're still trying to do the most points on that.
Now, I don't mean what's the name of this thing in the game, and I'm pointing to it on the screen.
Yes.
What is this in a gameplay situation? What do you call the way you're drafting tiles? What's this device?
I think you just said it actually.
It's called drafting tiles?
You're drafting things. There's open drafting and closed drafting.
Okay.
And open drafting is where the stuff is out and available and you pick from it. And sometimes you have to pick before somebody else picks it.
Yeah.
Whereas in closed drafting, you have a hidden set of cards. You're picking something like in Seven Wonders, and then you're passing the rest to the next player, and it kind of goes around.
Would this be called restricted closed drafting then?
It might.
Or open, restricted open. Okay.
Yeah,
Because when one player chooses which one they want, it forces the other players who are sitting at the geographic location around the table to only be able to pick from what's in front of them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So
I would say that's a type of restricted draft.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, all right, but the game I played it before, and I thought you would like it because you played it many times.
I think I've played this game maybe twice.
Is that it?
Once
for
or
real?
twice total. Not very much.
Okay.
Definitely one I'd love to have in my collection.
Let's look at the games that we gave each other, and we'll end with
Tesseract, Planet Unknown.
Planet Unknown.
Doo-doo.
It's good to see you guys again.
Yep.
See you around.
Have a good year.
A Tesseract itself has been around? Are you
Tesseract
saying
has been around.
the Tesseract?
No, that Tesseract.
Is there only one Tesseract?
I don't even know what a Tesseract is.
Come on, it's a fourth dimensional. Don't take that off. We're still recording.
Oh, okay.
It's a fourth dimensional cube. So you've seen a
yes,
square.
Yes. It folds in on itself.
A square
right?
is not quite folding, but here's the thing: if a square is made up of 4 edges and 1 face, a cube is made up of 6 faces and how many corners? 6 or
would
12?
be 8 corners.
8 corners. And then a tesseract is then that extruded into the 4th dimension, a cube extruded into the 4th dimension. So it's made up of however many you just saw in the box. Faces.
All of those faces.
I think it's that many cubes. So a tesseract's faces are cubes.
Which
is hard to understand,
because
right?
that cube has a face made up of cubes.
I have a face
like
made
your
up of
face
cubes
is
right
made-
now, and right now your face is made up of cubes.
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Look at that,
Okay.
digitally manipulated.
Excellent.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Want to clap?
Yeah. What was that for?
Hey, I don't know.